So I'm representing Group 5 for this advocacy plan video. And so when we were given our task at the beginning of the week, we were asked to look at gender-based violence. And so what we then decided to do is take a different approach and look at school-related gender-based violence, especially amongst the LGBTI community within high school. And we've had kinda experience in working with school-related intervention programs and exposure to the LGBTI community, so we thought it would be perfect to actually do this. And when we wanted to build up our advocacy plan or advocacy group, we thought it would be best to firstly sensitize the participating key stakeholders so that they are an active advocates for the implementation group themselves. So what that looked like is recruiting or working with our proximal group, which includes your teachers, the principals, the school governing body, and also a more distal approach of working with our community members, our service workers, such as healthcare workers, police officers within the community, as well as cluster leaders from the Department of Education to actually motivate and to drive the plan itself and, in a sense, advocate for the implementation group. So there were different avenues and channels to follow in implementing our advocacy plan. And as mentioned, there are numerous stakeholders which participate, but what we wanted, or our starting point within our toolbox, is starting with the learners themselves. And this would be through offering them necessary skills, especially when it comes to broadening the spectrum of gender-based violence within life orientation. This will help them firstly understand what gender-based violence looks like, how they are affected by it, how other people in their community are affected by it, what they can do against it, who they can speak to. So at the end of the day, the learners begin to be sensitized or begin to understand gender-based violence as a concept, but also start appreciating being lobbyists or lobbyists. Is it lobbyists? Lobbyists for anti-gender-based violence against any type of gender, whether it be female, whether it be children, whether it be within the LGBTI community. So when students affect each other less based on another person's sexual orientation, that's where you start. So when working with learners, we actually figured out the most effective way to sensitize them and to build them up as part of the advocacy group is to use classroom activities, is to use social activities, to use group activities, and these could be incorporated to their life orientation curriculum to expand on that. So certain numerous scopes of activities could include firstly learning about gender, identifying gender equality, and then speaking about gender-based violence and sitting specifically on school-related gender-based violence on a broader spectrum, and then also streaming down into relational discussions and how students relate with each other, what moral and ethical behavior is accepted and deemed important when interacting with each other. And these are all things that are incorporated into a life skill or life orientation curriculum, but we thought that it would be great to actually use the toolbox that we have already and then expand on that. And then at the end of those activities, whether they're done week by week, we would then have almost like a reflective campaign week where students, in example for gender and gender equality, students can design and build up posters which could be either posted up on their school walls or their community halls, where they reflect on what they learned about gender-based violence and identify what gender is and gender equality, what that looks like. Or for example, within school-related gender-based violence, we could have a reflective essay where learners write the importance of anti-gender based violence crimes or hate or activities, and from that use that tool to build up a community of students which would then sit on the SGB that would help the school unpack the numerous issues that are happening that are affecting the lives of young LGBTI high school learners. So that's pretty much a short summary of our advocacy plan. It was an absolute pleasure working with our group 5. The group members consist of Motsi, Paco, Maureen, as well as Nondo, and it we really did enjoy putting this together, and I think we went pretty much overboard because from day one we were just throwing in ideas, but we absolutely love it. For more on our advocacy plan, just read up on the discussion.